Welcome to Empowered Educator. I'm your host, Dr. Mel Vandefort, and today I am diving into a topic that is very impactful to every teacher, every classroom, and every student, and that is engagement. As educators, we've all experienced those moments when the energy in the room just shifts, right? When every student is locked in, actively learning, and you can feel their focus and their curiosity come to life. And in the famous words of John Travolta, it's electrifying. Now, I didn't say it quite as well as he did, but you get the picture. Those are the moments that you live for as a teacher, when everybody is learning and you can just see the smoke coming out of their heads because the gears are turning and things are going in and things are coming out. And it is really electric. But how do we cultivate that every single day? So that's what today's episode is all about. We're going to explore why student engagement is vital, what it really looks like in action, and how you can use strategies from Kagan Cooperative Learning and Teach Like a Champion to make it happen on a consistent basis. And as a building leader, it is your responsibility to make sure that your teachers know these strategies. I did not learn these strategies until after I was out of the classroom, which is really sad because it would have been nice to have known them before. Now, I did know some of them. I knew some Kagan stuff. But Teach Like a Champion, I did not even know about that until I was a principal. And man, I wish I had. But don't think I don't share it with everyone that I work with now. So if you're ready to recharge the learning in your building, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hi friend, are you ready to move into a leadership position? Do you have interests and ambitions that you want to pursue, but feel like you don't know how to take that next step? Maybe you want to start your own coaching or consulting agency. I'm Mel, and I help educators define their career path through correct mindset, knowing your options, and getting prepared for your career transition. I will show you how to level up your leadership skills, share your expertise in a new way, create impact on a larger scale, and put your leadership in motion. As an educator for over 20 years, I started to feel underused and like I had more to give. I knew when the time had come for me to leave the classroom and affect change on a larger level. Now, I'm ready to help you determine where your talents and skills mesh with your passions and interests. Put your leadership in motion and move into that next phase of your educational career journey. Let me help you define your career path by having the right mindset, knowing your options, and getting prepared for that next leadership position. So power up and put your leadership in motion. Depending on what time of day you're listening to this, I am either getting ready or I am already ready, or I might have already finished working with teachers on how to increase the engagement in their classrooms. I love teaching teachers how to use the strategies that I wish I'd had when I was in the classroom. I love teaching teachers how to be better teachers. There were so many things that I didn't know when I was in the classroom, and I learned them afterwards when I was a principal and a dean of instruction. And now I feel it is my duty to make sure that every teacher that I come in contact with has those strategies to backward plan, to use their data correctly, to collect their data correctly, and then use their data correctly, to make sure there's alignment with the priority standards, and also to use these engagement strategies, not only to facilitate learning in their classrooms, but also to manage discipline issues. Because guess what? When students are engaged and there's learning going on, there's less discipline problems. And I want to start by exploring why engagement is so important. It is critical in the classroom setting. Engagement isn't just about holding students' attention. It's about creating the kind of learning that sticks. I have walked into classrooms in the last couple of years only to realize that the teacher is doing all of the work. The teacher is doing the teaching. The teacher is doing the learning because they're doing all the work. They're holding all of the conversation. There's just too much conversation coming from the teacher and not enough conversation coming from the students. And sadly enough, when students just have to be talked to, they check out and there is little to no learning happening at that point. So if you're an aspiring leader in a classroom and you are all about lecture, sorry but not sorry, stop doing it and let's get some engagement going in your classroom because the student should be Okay, see, I'm so passionate, I can't even talk. The students should be doing the heavy lifting, all of the thinking in a classroom setting. When they're actively engaged, they're more likely to absorb the material, build connections with the material and real-world examples, and think critically. And research shows that engaged students have higher achievement levels, they have much better retention, and a greater sense of satisfaction with overall learning. They want to come to school to learn. So if you have high absenteeism in your building, you might take a look at the engagement in some of your classrooms. And engaged students are also more invested in their own learning. Who would have thought? And they become much more self-motivated learners, which is the ultimate goal for us educators. We want self-learners. So the key takeaway is that engagement isn't just a nice to have, and I'm doing air quotes even though you can't see me. It's a must-have for meaningful, impactful education. So what does that engagement actually look like in practice? Well, I'm going to go back to my Sophia Petrillo days because I've actually been on this kick of watching Golden Girls reruns because they are hilarious. But picture this. You walk into a classroom and students are actively participating. They're asking questions and even teaching each other. What a concept! Mind blown. This room has a buzz of energy, but it's not chaotic. Instead, it's purposeful and directed. When you have a classroom full of engaged students, they're not just sitting there waiting for the teacher to lead or teach. They're interacting with each other. They're exploring ideas and they're building on each other's thoughts. There's banter back and forth between them. They're pushing each other and they're stretching their thinking. And this kind of engagement means that students are not only present physically, but mentally and emotionally too. They're building relationships with each other as well. And they're learning how to work together, which, guess what? When you go into the workforce, when you are thinking college and career ready, they have to be prepared to work with other people. An engaged classroom is a learning community. It's where students feel motivated to contribute, to collaborate, and to take charge of their own learning. One highly effective way to boost the engagement in your classroom or in the classrooms of your teachers, if you are building leader, is through Kagan cooperative learning strategies. Kagan's approach emphasizes structured interaction that gets every student involved. Now, you may be doing some of these or you may see some of these in action in the classrooms that you're going into, but the teachers may not know what they're called. And that was me as a teacher. A lot of times I was doing these things or some of these things, I just didn't have a name for it. And once I learned what the Kagan names were or the Teach Like a Champion names were, it clicked that yes, I'm actually doing that in my classroom. I just didn't know it. One of the Kagan strategies that you can use is called Rally Robin, or you can teach your teachers to use this. Or if you're an aspiring leader or a new leader, you can use these kind of techniques or strategies in your professional development sessions as well. In Rally Robin, the learners pair up and they take turns sharing ideas back and forth on a topic. It's kind of like brainstorming possible solutions to a problem or listing key points from the lesson. Another one is called Think, Pair, Share. In this one, students first think individually. You give them that think time, which a lot of teachers have trouble with that, but students have to have that. So you give them that think time about a question or a topic that you specifically are wanting them to think about. Then they discuss it with a partner, and then finally they share their insights with the larger group. And one that I'm sure many people have used or at least have heard of is called turn and talk, where you turn to a neighbor, and of course it's teacher directed which way to go or who you're going to talk to, and then you talk about whatever it is the teacher has assigned. But the teacher needs to be walking around the classroom, listening to the conversations to make sure that the learners are on topic and that there are no misconceptions. And also you can gain some great insight on how you can build that conversation when it's time to go back whole group. These Kagan strategies encourage all of the students to participate, actively process the information, and learn from one another, which elevates the entire learning experience. Everyone is engaged in learning at that point. Then you can layer in some Teach Like a Champion strategies, which offers practical techniques for keeping students engaged and accountable. And these TLAC, as we call them, Teach Like a Champion strategies, are based around behavior and academic strategies. And when you're thinking like a building leader, you want to have some of these strategies that are building wide. So one of those is SLANT. If every teacher in the building or every staff member in the building is using SLANT, SLANT, which is sit up, listen, ask and answer questions, nod your head, track the speaker. If everyone in your building uses SLANT, then students know what that means no matter what room they're in. And teachers can use that same language with every student that they come in contact with, and no one will be confused. And one of my favorite things is called What to Do. Believe it or not, students do not innately know what you're expecting of them when you give them something to do. So if you want your students to go into small groups and you have maybe 4 or 5 students in a group, you have to be very specific on how to get into those groups and what they're supposed to do once they get into those groups, what the expectations are. And if you don't lay those out for students, we all have different mental models, remember. Your students do as well. And they're going to employ their mental model, and it may not be what your vision is or your mental model. So you have to be very specific and give them very specific steps on what to do. I think back to when I would tell my kid, my own child, to go clean his room. And I can say he because I had 3 boys. So it didn't matter which one I was telling to go clean their room. I had to be very, very specific. I need you to go in there and I need you to put all of the toys in the toy box. I need you to put all of the laundry in the laundry basket. I would have to go through every single thing because if I didn't, they wouldn't do what I didn't say. And one that every single educator should think about, whether you are the classroom teacher or you are the building leader, because you want this to be important for everyone in the building. Every minute matters. All of those little wasted minutes, all of those minutes of downtime, those are minutes of lost instruction. So lack of planning, lack of organization, all of those cut into those minutes that matter. So you have to be very organized. You have to plan. You have to have tight transitions. You have to have classroom routines so you don't have to waste time explaining things. If you have a well-oiled machine in your classroom and your students are running the show because they know what is expected and you have taught them well what to do previously, then you're not going to lose that instruction time. Methods from Teach Like a Champion help you set a tone of high expectations and active participation that keeps students on their toes in the best way. All right, my empowered educators, that's a wrap on today's show. Student engagement is truly the heart of effective teaching. And with the right strategies, you can turn any classroom into an active, lively learning environment. Especially as a building leader, if you're teaching your teachers how to do it right, then they're going to have some really engaged lessons with some really engaged students. And by integrating approaches from Kagan and Teach Like a Champion, you're building a space where students feel motivated, feel involved, and they're ready to tackle the challenges head on. They're ready to tackle the learning, and they're excited about it. Engagement doesn't mean just fun stuff. It doesn't mean cutting things out all the time, or gluing, or coloring, or games, or fun things like that. Engagement means learning. It's about creating meaningful connections and fostering a culture of learning. Thanks for tuning in today. And here's to transforming your classroom or your building, one engaged student at a time. Keep empowering, and I will catch you next week, same time, same place. Bye-bye.